Good afternoon. Very hot day today in Valencia. But today, the 28th of June, is Robin Dunbar's birthday. And I'd like to first of all pass on my congratulations to him, should he ever see this, and start by telling a story about Anna. Now, it does not matter at all if Anna lives in Mumbai, Madagascar, Madrid or Manhattan. Anna will find that there are roughly 1,500 people that she can put a name to. This number, as all of these numbers, is an average, but around 1,500 seems to be an upper limit to the number of people you can remember the names of. Now, of these 1,500 people, 500 are acquaintances, people she would normally say hello to in the street or whatever. Now this number goes down again to 150 are her casual friends, and 150 is often considered to be the Dunbar number, but it is in fact one of a series, but it's the one that most people concentrate on. So Anna's casual friends are the sort of people that she would invite to a large event, such as a wedding. And 50 of them she would consider to be somewhat closer friends. And of these 50, 15 are more intimate, and 5 are her best friends. And these numbers may or may not include family members. It would depend on how close Anna is to her family, and as Anna goes through her life, changing schools, changing jobs, perhaps moving house from one place, one city, one country to another, the members of these groups change over time, but the numbers remain the same. So you lose contact with some, but you meet new people, and the numbers really average out surprisingly accurately. And these Dunbar numbers have been arrived at by Robin Dunbar, who is an anthropologist and a psychologist, but had a main interest in the behaviour of primates. And he noticed, as anybody does who's seen a documentary about apes, that they do seem to spend an awful lot of time grooming each other. We would too if we lived under similar conditions, because grooming is both necessary and sociable. But Dunbar wanted to know why quite so much time was devoted to it. And as he thought about it, his thinking led him off onto a tangent. Primates have large brains, and they have large brains because they live within a complex network of social relationships. And keeping track of social relationships is part of the function of the neocortex in the brain. And a large neocortex is necessary to be able to keep track of the complexity involved when you are working within a group. Theoretically then, he decided, if you measured the size of the neocortex, you should be able to predict the size of the group that your primate belongs to. And we humans are, of course, primates. So Dunbar wondered if this would apply to humans. Now, we don't need to go through the maths he used, but he did indeed come up with this optimum group number for human society of 150. Now, Dunbar also discovered, as have other people who've worked with this since, that there was considerable evidence to support his idea. Present-day hunter-gatherer societies, there are not, of course, many of them left, but the few that are generally in groups of around 150. In fact, the average number works out at 148 point something, but 150 as a round number. Military forces in history and in the present day tend to be organised on a series of numbers, series of groups, which follow the Dunbar idea. And many businesses have discovered that they function more efficiently if they follow, consciously or not, this Dunbar rule. Now, there is some debate as to whether social media these days is slightly changing this, but this would seem to imply that a dedicated Instagrammer with hundreds and hundreds of followers is developing a larger neocortex. But the neocortex is involved in cognition, spatial reasoning, and language and other higher order brain functions. So perhaps there is, having seen Instagram, considerable room for doubt. One could argue that many people, and it's certainly true, have hundreds of Facebook friends, but here surely friends should be enclosed in inverted commas. I don't remember exactly how many friends I have on Facebook, but I know that I wouldn't recognise most of them in the street. Friends is a friendlier word than contact, perhaps. Now, if Dunbar is right, and it should be remembered that his numbers are averages, then there is, I think, an implication that is worth thinking about. Imagine that someone you know has an unfortunate accident. Your reaction will probably depend on which of your groups this person belongs to. If one of your 5 best friends is the victim, you will be considerably upset. But then, as you move further out, your reaction will probably be less intimate, up to the point that if he belongs only to the 1,500 people, you may think, what a pity, and then carry on as normal. But what would your reaction be if this accident happened to a complete stranger? The short answer, I think, is that your emotional response would be non-existent, unless it happened to perhaps a favourite actor, a singer or a sportsman. But then your reaction really depends on the degree of influence that this person had on you, which may go some way to explaining the extraordinary impact that Princess Diana's death had in Britain. Now, a certain Dr. Steve Taylor, in an article titled Empathy, the Ability That Makes Us Truly Human, which he posted on March the 24th, 2012 on psychology.com, says, and I quote, "Empathy is the ability to feel with another person, to identify with them and sense what they are experiencing. It is sometimes seen as the ability to read other people's emotions or the ability to imagine what they are feeling by putting yourself in their shoes. In other words, empathy is seen as a cognitive ability along the same lines as the ability to imagine future scenarios or to solve problems based on previous experience. But in my view, I'm still quoting, so this is his view, not mine, but in my view, empathy is more than this. It is the ability to make a psychic and emotional connection with another person, to actually enter into their mind space. When we experience real empathy or compassion, in a sense, our identity actually merges with another person's. Your self-boundary melts away. The separateness between you and the other person fades. Our strongly developed sense of individuality, or being a personal self or ego, can make it difficult for us to experience a state of connection. The ego walls us off from other people, particularly those belonging to other groups, the other gender, in the case of female oppression, other tribes, nations, races, or classes. It encloses us in a narrow world of our own thoughts and desires, making us so self-absorbed that it is difficult for us to experience the world from other people's perspective. Other people become truly other to us, and this makes it possible for us to inflict suffering on them simply because we cannot sense the pain we are causing them. We cannot feel with them enough to sense their suffering. End of quotation. Taylor goes on to say that, to some extent, empathy can be learned, and this may well appear to be true, but I would suggest that a person can normally only feel empathy for those within her upper Dunbar range of associates, the 1500. Of course, people work for and donate to charities. Some devote their lives to them, and the main religions and some political movements emphasize the brotherhood of man. Even so, this attitude depends more on a way of seeing the world rather than a directly emotional one. If this were not so, 3.1 million children would not needlessly die from malnutrition each year. It also goes some way to explaining why only 4% of the population are regular blood donors. Now, 3 centuries before Christ, Mencius, a Confucian thinker, who is considered second only to Confucius himself, believed that humans were innately good. Surprising, as he lived during the Warring States period when people were butchering each other right, left and centre, but he believed that people were innately good. But this was a quality which, like a plant, needed to be cultivated. He used the example of a child falling down a well. An onlooker would feel alarm and distress and automatically rush to help. Not because she wanted to befriend the unfortunate toddler's parents, nor because she wanted praise from friends and neighbours, and not because she was worried about her reputation, but simply because of commiseration, empathy in other words. Surely Mencius was right in saying that people would try to help, or most people would, and if there were a hungry child crying on our doorstep, we would feed him. We can, then, extend our empathy to those within our immediate experience. But I would like to leave you with one question. What is the difference between that hungry child on our doorstep and a hungry child in the Democratic Republic of the Congo? Okay, I'll post that question again on the comment section when I get back home and can use the real computer. But thanks for your attention. A quick non-vocal plug for the book, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Oh, and welcome to the literally 3 or 4 new subscribers. Thank you a lot.